Cal adjusted the wires under the control panel, sweat dripping from his forehead. The room hummed with low-energy pulses. He was used to machines, circuits, and code, but today he was partnered with someone very different. Her name was Vela, an alien warrior from the planet Antari. Tall, graceful, and always calm, she moved like someone who had never failed in her life. They had been assigned to repair a damaged power core deep inside Outpost Station Zephyr. It was an old station, floating between human and alien space. Barely holding together, the core was unstable. Any mistake could send them all flying into the void. Vela leaned over Cal's shoulder. This wire connects here. Yes? She asked. No, Cal said quickly. Don't touch that. We're not ready yet. But before he could stop her, Vela reached forward and connected the wire. Sparks flew, and a sharp beep echoed from the core. Cal's eyes widened in horror. Stop. He shouted. Vela blinked. Then she smiled, calm as ever, and did it again. She touched another set of wires, causing another flare of sparks. What are you doing? I said stop. Cal stepped back, alarmed. Yes? She said softly, still smiling. Do again, stronger. This time, no. Not stronger. Not again. Cal waved his arms. Vela, stop means don't do it. She tilted her head. But it means try again harder. No. Cal rubbed his temples. He took a deep breath and backed away from the panel. This wasn't working. They powered down the systems and returned to the small crew room. To cool off, Vela sipped her mineral drink, while Cal paced around. Vela, he said slowly, why did you do it again when I said stop? Vela looked puzzled. Because where I come from, stop is what you say to challenge someone. If you say stop, it means you believe I cannot continue, so I must prove I can. Cal blinked. That's the opposite of what we mean. Vela nodded. Yes, I see that now. Your word stop means danger. But for us, it means show strength. He sat down on the bench beside her. Vela, if you keep doing the opposite of what I say, we're both gonna end up as dust floating through space. Vela looked down. I did not mean to disobey. I thought I was helping. I know, Cal said, softer now. It's not your fault. It's the language. They sat in silence for a few moments. The hum of the station echoed around them. Cal thought about all the warning signs, alarms, and symbols they used. None of them were designed for alien partners. No one had thought about how one word could mean two very different things. Maybe we need our own words, Cal said finally. Something new. Just for us. Vela smiled. I like that idea. They went back to the panel. This time, Cal pointed to the wire she had touched before. This, he said, we call Fireline. It's hot and dangerous. Vela repeated, Fireline. He made an X shape with his fingers. This means no. Do not touch. Vela nodded and copied the sign. For the next hour, they created a set of simple signs and shared words. Cal used colors and hand movements. Vela added a few of her own. Slowly, they started to understand each other not through words, but through effort. At one point, Vela reached toward a tool, then stopped herself. She looked at Cal and raised her hand in the X shape. Good, Cal said, smiling. You got it. I did not stop because I feared, she said. I stopped because I trusted you. Those words stayed with Cal long after they powered down. For the night, he lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He had worked with other humans before. Sometimes they fought, sometimes they ignored each other. But with Vela, things were different. They didn't speak the same way. They didn't think the same way. But for some reason, he trusted her. And now, she trusted him to. Maybe that was how real teamwork started, not with orders or ranks, but with mistakes, confusion, and the choice to try again. Tomorrow, they would face the core again. It was unstable, risky, dangerous. But now, they weren't just strangers. They were partners. And this time, when he said stop, he knew she'd truly understand. The next day began with a quiet buzz across Outpost Station Zephyr. Cal woke up early, still thinking about the words Vela had said the night before. I stopped because I trusted you. Those words meant more than he expected. He walked into the main control bay and saw Vela already standing beside the damaged power core. She had her tools ready, and her expression was calm but focused. She looked at him and raised her hand in the X symbol they had agreed on. Cal smiled and nodded. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied, her accent heavy but clear. They got to work. This time, there were no sharp words or confusion. Cal pointed to a wire, made a swirl motion, and Vela nodded before turning the bolt slowly. The core lights flickered, but didn't spike. Progress. Just as Cal was reaching for the stabilizer control, the lights in the room dimmed. A loud warning beep echoed from the far console. "System error," the speaker said. "Pressure rising." Vela moved fast, heading toward the backup valve. "Wait," Cal called out. "We need to check." Before he could finish, Vela placed both hands on the valve and started turning it. "Stop," Cal shouted again, without thinking. Vela froze, her hands still on the valve. Her eyes locked onto his. But this time, she didn't smile. She didn't act. She waited. Cal ran to the console, scanned the pressure levels, and adjusted the system from the panel. Then he turned back and gave her the signal for go. She turned the valve just enough to release the pressure safely. No sparks, no damage, just control. Cal breathed out in relief. "You listened," he said. Vela nodded. "I heard your voice." It was filled with fear, not challenge. "Yeah," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I guess sometimes tone matters more than the word." "On my world," Vela said slowly, "we do not speak with many words. We read movement, tone, and heart. You shouted not to test me. You shouted because you cared." Cal looked down, a little surprised by her words. "I didn't want you hurt," he said honestly. Vela smiled softly. "Then we understand." They continued working until the core was stable again. The station systems returned to normal, and the danger passed. But Cal couldn't stop thinking about how quickly things could have gone wrong again. They were lucky this time. Later that evening, the two sat in the dining hall, alone. The others were either asleep or off duty. "Why did you become a warrior?" Cal asked, curious. Vela looked at her hands. "My people are born to protect. When I was young, my sister fell into a river. Everyone stood still. But I jumped in. I didn't think. I just moved. They said that meant I was ready to serve. You saved her." Cal asked. "Yes, but I almost drowned too. Still, they call me brave." Cal nodded. "Sometimes, bravery looks like recklessness." Vela looked at him. "And sometimes, caution looks like fear." They both laughed quietly. "We're different," Cal said. "But maybe that's not a bad thing." "It's not," Vela agreed. "You make me pause. I make you move." The station lights flickered again, just once, probably nothing. But Cal and Vela both stood up at the same time, their eyes moving toward the control room. "We should check," Cal said. Together, Vela added. They walked down the hallway side by side, not as to strangers from different worlds, but as to people learning to trust, to understand, and to protect not just each other but everything around them. The hallway doors opened with a soft hiss. Shadows danced along the metal walls. The core was quiet now, but something in the air felt tense. "You feel that?" Cal asked. Vela nodded. "Something is wrong." They looked around the room. Everything seemed normal, until Cal spotted a blinking light on a far console. It wasn't part of the core system. It was part of the outer sensors. He walked over and checked the screen. "There's a ship," he said slowly. "A known model. Approaching fast." Vela narrowed her eyes. "Do we have weapons?" "Just basic shields. This isn't a battle station." "Then we prepare," she said. Cal nodded. He didn't know who was coming, or why, but something told him the next test wouldn't be about wires or commands. It would be about trust. The warning light on the console blinked steadily. Cal stared at it, trying to make sense of the ship's movement. It was fast. Too fast for a traitor, too quiet for an ally. Vela stood beside him, her hand resting on her hip near the small blade she carried. It wasn't much against the ship, but she always moved like she was ready. "How close are they?" Vela asked. Cal tapped a few buttons. "About 200 kilometers out." They're slowing down now, but not answering any messages. Vela frowned. If they mean peace, they speak. If they are silent, they are planning something else. Yeah, Cal said, watching the screen. That's what worries me. They had no real weapons. Just a low-range pulse shield meant to stop space dust or minor debris. If this unknown ship came with bad intentions, they wouldn't last long. What do we do? Cal asked. Vela looked around the room, then back at him. We think like them. If they expect fear, we give calm. If they expect weakness, we give challenge. Cal gave a half smile. That sounds like something your people would say. Vela nodded. It is. Fear gives power to the enemy. Standing gives power to you. Cal took a deep breath. All right, then let's stand. They started preparing the station. Cal sealed the outer doors and activated the old defense code, which would at least alert other nearby stations if something went wrong. Vela checked the pressure systems, airlocks, and escape pods. They moved fast and without panic. Suddenly, the alarm changed tone. The blinking light on the console turned red. They're docking, Cal said. Without permission. Vela's hand tightened. Then they are not here to talk. Cal looked around. There were on. Like two of them. The rest of the crew wouldn't arrive for another day. They were alone. Vela. Cal said, his voice steady but firm. No hero stuff. We stay safe. Vela gave him a sharp look. No hero, only shield. They took positions. Near the main hallway, Cal held a shock baton, one of the few non-lethal weapons on board. Vela stood tall with her blade, ready to protect. The airlock door hissed. Cal's heart pounded. The door opened slowly. 3 figures stepped through. They wore dark suits, their helmets glowing with red lights. Not from any known group. Scavengers. Maybe. Pirates possibly. One of them raised a device and spoke. Power core. Give it. Cal raised his baton. This is a human alien research station. We don't trade parts. The lead figure stepped forward. Give core or lose ship. Vela moved slightly, just enough to draw their attention. You will not touch it, she said clearly. The 3 intruders turned to her. Warrior, protector. She replied. The tension grew. Cal whispered. Vela, we can't fight all 3. Vela didn't answer. Instead, she stepped forward and made a sharp motion with her hands. The universal sign for a duel. Challenge. The pirates laughed. But then, one of them nodded and stepped ahead of the others. He pulled out an electric staff. It crackled with low blue energy. Vela turned slightly and looked at Cal. Get ready to seal door if I fall. Cal opened his mouth to protest. She gave him a look, not of pride or stubbornness, but of trust. Then she attacked. The fight was fast and rough. Vela moved like wind. The pirate swung the staff, but she ducked and slashed low, knocking him off balance. He hit back, and sparks flew from her blade. Cal stood ready, sweat dripping down his neck. In the end, Vela disarmed the pirate with a powerful twist. She pointed her blade at his throat. Leave, she said. The other 2 pirates backed away. Raising their hands, they pulled their friend back and left through the airlock. Slamming the door behind them, Cal quickly sealed it from the console. The room fell silent again. Vela breathed hard but stayed standing. You okay? Cal asked. I did not fall, she replied. Cal smiled. You didn't. You scared them off. She sat down slowly, catching her breath. Cal sat beside her. You didn't stop when I told you earlier. I stopped at the right moment, she said with a soft smile. You told me no hero stuff. I was not a hero. I was a protector. You're right, Cal said, and I'm glad we understood each other this time. Vela looked at him. We are learning, word by word, action by action. Cal nodded. And next time they come back, they'll think twice. They sat there, tired but strong. The station still stood, and they still stood with it. 2 different beings who had once misunderstood each other, now facing the stars as a team. Quiet hum filled Outpost Station Zephyr as the night cycle began. The emergency lights glowed gently while the power core returned to stable levels. The recent pirate intrusion had shaken the place, but the station held strong thanks to Cal and Vela. Cal sat at the console, reviewing the recorded footage. He paused the screen at the moment Vela stepped forward to challenge the pirate. Her stance was clear, her voice steady, and her actions fast. He shook his head slightly and smiled. "Remind me not to get on her bad side," he muttered. Vela entered the room carrying two hot drinks. She placed one near Cal and sat beside him on the bench. "You are watching the fight," she said. "Just reviewing," Cal replied. "Command will want a report. Plus, you were kind of amazing." Vela sipped her drink. "It was not for show." "I know," Cal said. "You weren't showing off. You were protecting this place." "And me?" Vela looked at him with a calm expression. "You are my team. I protect my team." They sat quietly for a moment. The soft sound of the station buzzing around them. Suddenly, the comm screen blinked. Cal pressed the button, and a face appeared. Station Commander Reyes. His uniform was neat, and his eyes sharp. "We received your emergency signal," he said. "We're sending a full crew your way." "Understood," Cal replied. "You okay?" Reyes asked, scanning their faces. Cal nodded. "We're good. No damage. No injuries." "The footage showed good coordination," Reyes added, "especially from the Antari warrior." Vela simply nodded. Reyes looked directly at her. "Vela, you were trained for war. But this was defense. You made the right choice. Thank you," she said. After the call ended, Cal leaned back in his chair. "They're impressed." Vela didn't react much. Instead, she asked, "When the others arrive, will we be separated?" Cal hadn't thought of that. With the full crew returning, engineers would take over, and warriors like Vela might be reassigned. "I hope not," he said. "We make a good team." Vela nodded. "We learn each other." Cal smiled. "Yeah, at first. We nearly blew up the core. Now we're fighting off pirates side by side, and we are still alive." She added. Later that evening, Cal walked to the observation deck. Stars filled the view. Quiet. Endless. Vela joined him. "Do you miss your world?" Cal asked. Vela took a moment to answer. "Sometimes. The air there smells like cold metal and fire. My people speak less. Everything is fast, strong, exact. Do you miss that kind of life?" He asked. "No," she said. "I came here to learn. I was tired of only fighting. I wanted to understand." "Understand what?" Cal asked. "Others. Myself." "Peace." Cal was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I came here to escape." Vela looked at him. "I wasn't great at working with people back home," Cal continued. "I thought maybe space would give me quiet. Machines don't argue. They follow rules." "But I argued," Vela said. "A lot." Cal laughed. "But it wasn't bad. It helped me grow." Vela looked out at the stars. "Sometimes, what we fear helps us become more." Cal nodded. "Like when you heard me shout stop the first time, it almost went bad. But now," she said, "I hear your meaning, not just your words." They stood together, watching as a small light blinked in the distance. The rest of the crew would arrive soon. Life on the station would change. Again, Cal turned to Vela. "If they tried to move you to another post, would you fight it?" Vela raised an eyebrow. "You want me to stay?" He shrugged. "Not just for safety. I'll trust you." Vela smiled. "Then I will stay. And if they say go, I will say no." "You'd refuse an order?" he asked. "I will say, talk to Cal first," she said with a playful tone. They both laughed. Something that felt impossible a few days ago now felt natural. They didn't need perfect words anymore. They had something strong or understanding. As the stars slowly moved above them, Cal and Vela stood side by side, not just as teammates, but as two souls from different worlds who had found something rare: connection. The next morning, Outpost Station Zephyr came alive with noise and movement. The full crew had arrived. Boots echoed through the metal halls, carts rolled with tools and supplies, and voices filled the air with chatter. The quiet Cal and Vela had grown used to was now gone. Cal stood by the main control panel, updating logs. Vela watched from a corner, her arms crossed. She didn't speak much, but her sharp eyes missed nothing. A man approached them. He was tall, with a silver badge and a clean uniform. His name tag read, Officer Lang. "You're Cal?" The man asked. Yeah, Cal said, shaking his hand. You're the one who held the station with this Antari warrior. Vela didn't speak, but her posture stiffened. That's right, Cal said. We stopped the pirate boarding and stabilized the core. Lang looked at Vela. She fought off 3 intruders with a blade. Yes, Cal replied. She kept us both alive. Lang gave a small smirk. Well, let's hope she follows commands as well as she fights. Vela's eyes narrowed. Cal stepped in quickly. We've worked well together. She understands me better than most humans here. Lang raised an eyebrow. We'll see after. Lang walked away. Cal turned to Vela. Don't let him get to you, he said. He doesn't trust me. She replied. He doesn't know you yet, Cal said. He'll learn, or he won't, she said softly, for the rest of the day. Cal and Vela were placed in different teams. Cal was sent to update the navigation systems with 2 other engineers. Vela was assigned to patrol with 2 new guards. They only met briefly during breaks. At lunch, Cal sat alone until a young tech named Lin joined him. You really trust that Antari? She asked Vela. Absolutely, Cal replied. She doesn't say much. Lin said, and those eyes. Always watching. She watches to protect, Cal said firmly, not to judge. Meanwhile, Vela walked the lower halls with Guard Sergeant Bren. He didn't speak much either, but when he did, it was sharp. You're fast. Bren said after watching her move. But this station doesn't need warriors anymore. Vela didn't respond. If a threat comes again, Bren added, you'll follow orders, not act alone. Vela paused, then said, I protect, always. Bren didn't answer. That evening, the station shook slightly. It was brief, but strong enough to make lights flicker. Alarms rang. Cal rushed to the console. There's damage. In the engine bay, Vela arrived seconds later. I go with you, she said. Double quotes no. Officer Lang interrupted. Vela stays. Cal, you go with Lin and Bren. Cal hesitated. Vela's the one I trust in emergencies. Not your call, Lang said firmly. Vela stepped back but locked eyes with Cal. She gave the smallest nod. Go. In the engine bay, Cal found a cracked fuel line. Lin and Bren began repairs, but Cal noticed something strange. Wait, Cal said. This line wasn't damaged by accident. This was cut. Are you sure? Lin asked. Look. He pointed. Clean slice. Someone did this on purpose. Just then, the lights cut off. Everyone down. Cal shouted. Aloud as filled the room. Smoke poured in. Cal reached for his comm, trying to contact Vela. Vela, we need help. Engine bay under attack. No answer. Back in the command room. Vela had heard the alarm, but was blocked by Lang. Stand down, he ordered. My partner is in danger. She said, stand down. He repeated. Vela looked at the wall. Then at Lang. She didn't argue. She ran. She moved fast through the dark halls, her blade ready. The smoke stung her eyes, but she followed the noise. When she reached the engine bay, she saw two masked figures fighting Cal. Without a word, she jumped into the fight. Her blade flashed. One figure fell. The other fled. Cal coughed, still holding his baton. You came. He said, I heard your voice. She replied, you were not calling me as a soldier. You were calling me as a friend. The emergency. Lights returned. Bren and Lin were stunned. Vela looked around. Someone inside the station wants harm. And now we know, Cal said. We can stop it, together. The next morning, the station felt tense. Whispers filled the halls, and crew members walked with cautious eyes. The surprise attack in the engine bay had left everyone on edge. No one had expected a traitor to be among them. Cal sat in the command room, reviewing the security recordings. The attackers had worn masks, but one of them had a limp. That detail stayed in Cal's mind. He checked past crew reports and found something interesting. Sergeant Bren had an old injury from a mission 2 years ago. A left leg limp. Vela entered quietly and stood behind him. You found something? She asked. Cal nodded. One of the attackers had a limp, same leg as Bren. Vela's eyes narrowed. He walks with power, but always leans slightly on the left. He was there during the repair, Cal said. He could have done it. and he tried to stop me from calling for help. We must be careful, Vela said. False blame is like a broken shield, Cal agreed. We need proof. Together, they checked tool logs, hallway scans, and airlock records. After 2 hours, they found that Bren had accessed the engine bay alone 10 minutes before the explosion. No reason was listed in the report. This is enough, Cal said. Not for Lang, Vale replied. He does not trust me. He will think I want revenge. Then we tell him together, Cal said. They found Officer Lang in the upper control deck. He looked annoyed as they walked in. You again. He said to Vela. What is it this time, Cal? Stepped forward. Sir, we found evidence linking Bren to the sabotage. He accessed the bay right before the attack. Lang raised an eyebrow. Do you have full proof? Not a full video of him cutting the pipe, Cal admitted. But we have time logs and movement scans. This is serious, Lang said. If you're wrong, it'll damage both of you. Vela stepped forward. If we are right and you ignore it, more lives may be lost. Lang looked between them. Then he tapped a few keys. I'll review the logs myself. For now, Bren is under observation. No action until I say so. Cal and Vale walked out. That's not enough, Cal said. What if Bren strikes again? Then we stay close, Vale said. We protect quietly. That night, Cal couldn't sleep. He sat in the hallway near the engine bay. The lights were dim. The hum of the station was the only sound. Vela joined him, sitting beside him without a word. You don't sleep much, do you? Cal asked. I listen, she replied. To what? To space. To machines. To people who breathe too fast. She said, glancing at him. You're worried. Cal nodded. I just don't like the idea that someone we trusted could do something like this. Vela looked up. On my world, betrayal is punished by exile. Not because of hate, but because trust is the center of life. Without it, we fall apart. Sometimes humans forgive too quickly. Cal said, or never at all. What will you do if Bren is guilty? She asked. Make sure he never harms anyone again. Cal said quietly. Vela nodded. Then you're ready. The next day, Officer Lang called them to the command room. His face was stern. You were right, he said. Bren disabled the fuel line. He admitted it after seeing the logs. He said the station didn't need alien hands protecting it. Said he wanted to scare Vale off. Cal felt cold. He risked our lives for that, Lang sighed. We've sent him off the station. He won't return. Vela didn't speak. She simply turned and left the room. Cal followed her. In the hallway, she stopped. He did not hate me. He feared me. You were stronger than him, Cal said. And he didn't understand you. You do, she said. Cal nodded. Yeah, I do. They stood in silence. The station had returned to peace, but not everything was fixed. Some wounds remained. Later, the crew held a quiet gathering to thank Cal and Vale for protecting the station. Lynn brought drinks, and others shared kind words. Some shook Vela's hand. Some just nodded respectfully. For the first time, Vela didn't feel like a stranger. Cal stood beside her the whole time. When the lights dimmed and the stars blinked outside the window, he turned to her and said, You didn't stop when others doubted you. Vela smiled slightly, because you never stopped believing. 2 weeks passed after Bren was removed from Outpost Station Zephyr. Life slowly returned to normal. Repairs were done. Systems ran smooth, and no new threats appeared. But Cal and Vela stayed alert. They had learned that trouble didn't always come from outside. It could grow quietly from within. Cal sat at the console, checking supply logs. Nearby, Vale adjusted a scanner for the outer sensors, even in quiet times. They worked like a team. Words were fewer now between them, not because of distance, but because they no longer needed to explain everything. Then the station alarm buzzed just once. Strange, Cal said, turning to the screen. A signal from the border zone. Faint distress call. Vela walked over and leaned close. Can you play it? Cal pressed the button. Static crackled. Then a broken voice came through. Shields down, ship damaged, crew injured. Please, anyone, respond. Vela's eyes narrowed. Location? It's on the edge of the red dust sector, Cal said. About 4 hours away by shuttle. That's far, she said, and dangerous. But if it's real, they need help, Cal replied. Lang entered the room just then, hearing the end of the signal. Don't tell me you're thinking of going. Someone needs help, Cal said. You're not a rescue team, Lang replied. We should wait for command approval. Vela stepped forward. By the time orders come, the crew could be lost. Lang looked between them. Fine. I won't stop you, but take a backup team. Cal shook his head. Vela and I move faster on our own. Lang sighed. You two are stubborn. No, Cal said, smiling. We're just in sync. Within an hour, Cal and Vela were in a small shuttle, flying through empty space. The stars outside glowed softly, and the engines hummed steady. Do you think it's a trap? Cal asked. Vela answered without looking away from the window. Maybe. But a voice in pain is not a thing to ignore. Cal nodded. Agreed. They reached the signal source just before the third hour. A small alien transport ship floated near an asteroid field, smoke rising from its side. Cal slowly brought their shuttle close in open comms. This is Zephyr Team. Do you need help? A weak voice replied. Yes, please. Our pilot is unconscious, systems failing. They docked quickly. Cal carried a medkit. Vela held her scanner and blade. Just in case, inside, they found two alien crew members. One was injured badly, the other weak but awake. What happened? Cal asked. Engine fire. The alien replied. We tried to fix it, but it spread. We sent the call hoping someone would hear. Vela checked the corners of the room carefully, making sure no one else hid in the shadows. Then she nodded to Cal. It was safe. They helped the injured into the shuttle. Cal stabilized the pilot while Vela flew them back towards Zephyr. As they left the dust field, Cal looked at her and said, You were right, it wasn't a trap. Not every shadow hides danger. She replied, Sometimes it hides someone needing help. On the way back, the rescued alien turned to Cal and whispered, You and the Antari woman, you understand each other well. How's that possible? Cal looked at Vela, who was focused on the stars. Then he said, We made mistakes, misunderstood each other. But we chose to listen, to try again. The alien nodded slowly. Rare to see that, especially between different worlds. It took time. Cal said, and patience. When they returned to the station, the crew welcomed them with surprise and respect. Officer Lang even smiled. You both did well, he admitted. I was wrong to doubt you. Vela replied simply. We are better together. Later that night, Cal and Vela stood once more on the observation deck. The stars stretched out forever, but this time they didn't feel so far. Vela, Cal said. Remember when I shouted stop the first time? Yes, she replied. You thought I meant do it again? Yes. She said again, smiling a little. Now, Cal said, I don't need to say anything. Vela looked at him. I hear your meaning even when you say nothing. They stood there, side by side. Two beings from different worlds, one who spoke with logic, the other who moved with instinct. Yet they found something rare, trust, respect, and something close to friendship. Cal laughed softly. You know, maybe we weren't meant to understand each other right away. No, Vela agreed. But we were meant to try. And in that small station among the stars, that choice to try had changed everything.